everybody, my name is Carol Mack. This tutorial will demonstrate how HIPAA is usually enforced. You've heard stories about penalties and fines, but HIPAA has many different methods of enforcement. Paying a fine comes at the end of the road. Congress delegated HIPAA enforcement to the Department of Health and Human Services. The agency is called HHS for short. HHS delegated HIPAA enforcement to the Office for Civil Rights. OCR is one of many divisions at HHS. OCR enforcement rules reside in subparts C, D, and E of the general rules. The first principle for compliance is cooperation. OCR may provide technical assistance. Their mantra is to seek voluntary compliance. Enforcement activity usually starts when someone files a complaint. OCR must investigate cases of willful neglect. It has discretion to investigate lesser complaints too. OCR reviews pertinent policies and procedures and relevant circumstances. OCR must describe acts and omissions that gave rise to the complaint. The entity must cooperate and turn over records and reports. When the investigation is complete, OCR decides if there was non-compliance or whether there was no violation. OCR often uses informal means to resolve complaints. If the matter is not resolved by informal means, then the entity may submit additional evidence within 30 days. If OCR determines a civil penalty should be imposed, the money penalty is calculated according to formulas and factors listed in subpart D. If a penalty is proposed, OCR must send a formal notice. The entity can pay the penalty or request a hearing before an administrative law judge. If the entity decides to appeal the ALJ's decision, they can go to the HHS Appeals Board. The HITECH Act provided a new enforcement tool called periodic audits. The pilot phase of periodic audits has been completed. Phase 2 audits began in mid-2015. HITECH also gives authority for state attorneys general to sue and recover money for the state. California has trained their AGs to prosecute cases. Next, we'll examine HIPAA enforcement in the town of Single Peak. Single Peak is a friendly place where everybody knows everybody else's business. The Pruitt Medical Group sits on the edge of the park in the Old Town District. Every day the plaza is bustling with activity. Priscilla and her husband Hudson recently hired Dr. Kramer, a newly licensed chiropractor. Dr. Kramer doesn't have many patients yet, so he continues to work as a part-time school teacher. The Pruitts also have a biller named Belle. She just opened the mail. There was a letter from the Office for Civil Rights. Someone had filed an OCR complaint against the Pruitt Medical Group. Hudson was shocked.
Where's Kramer? Kramer, do you know anything about this complaint?
Yes, I remember the patient. She's a 15-year-old with fibromyalgia. I gave her some chiropractic adjustments, and you prescribed her pain medications.
We're accused of wrongfully disclosing prescription information. Our patient says her reputation has been ruined. I can't believe anyone in our office could be responsible for this.
Maybe you shouldn't have hired Dee and Fran. Did anyone teach them how to use the paper shredder?
I hope so. We can't have paper records blowing out of the dumpster.
The letter says possible willful neglect. What does that mean?
Willful neglect means conscious, intentional failure or reckless indifference. By the way, do you know if Dee and Fran use social media?
Are you kidding? They're in high school. Dee's mother is the school librarian. Maybe she could talk to them.
Or maybe Dee's father could help us investigate. Dee's father is Officer Oliver.
Can a police officer enforce HIPAA?
I don't think so. He's not part of our workforce. I'll make an appointment to see the attorney.
Later that day, Hudson walked over to Anne's office.
Hello, Hudson. Let's review that complaint letter. I'm going to show you the OCR website. It has a page that explains how complaints are investigated. The investigator is going to collect information from documents. They can interview witnesses too. Would you like me to call the investigator on your behalf?
Yes, I appreciate your help.
Hello, this is Investigator Ito. Are you representing Dr. Hudson?
Yes, I reviewed the complaint. The letter says you could provide technical assistance.
Yes, indeed. And we're going to include an on-site visit.
Several days later, Investigator Ito came to the Pruitt's office. He interviewed Dr. Hudson and he reviewed their policies and procedures. He visited the complainant's school and he spoke to the principal. Investigator Ito didn't find any evidence of a HIPAA violation. But then he said,
Before I go, I should inspect the trash disposal area.
Investigator Ito walked around the building and he opened the garbage bins and he found medical records exposed to public view.
I can't imagine how that got in there. I told the janitors to shred all the paper.
What company did you say you hired? We should talk to them about voluntary compliance.
Well, we didn't actually hire a company. We hired a couple of girls to come over after school to help us clean the office.
I think we need to make a corrective action plan.
A corrective action plan?
Yes, and I can help you with that.
Investigator Ito provided an outline for the CAP, and the Pruitts submitted the CAP to the Office of Civil Rights. OCR has many different enforcement tools. High-tech increased the amount of civil penalties that could be imposed. Technical assistance is the most common method of enforcement, followed by investigation of complaints and now audits. Thanks for joining me in this tutorial. Now I want you to meet my colleagues, Roman Diaz, President of Touchtone Compliance, and Karen Darnall of Darnall Law Office.
We made these tutorials to help you learn about HIPAA and California law. For individual attention, go to our contact page. You can send us a message or schedule a consultation.
And I'm Roman Diaz, President of Touchtone Compliance. Our online tools and expert services provide everything you need to successfully address HIPAA compliance. We identify vulnerabilities, provide a thorough risk analysis, and assist with mitigation plans, policies and procedures, and staff training.